Welcome to homework number 403, chapter 4.2, page 134. We are talking about solving equations using multiplication and division, day 2. So make sure you've got those notes out and ready to start. First thing I put in your notes was an example from the Big Ideas textbook. Solving equations using reciprocals. So what we're going to talk about is a fraction next to a variable term. So you can see an example from the book, but we're going to go ahead and get started on the next example. So go ahead and let's look at this one. Solve the equation. So we have negative 8 over 5 times b equals 5. So to get rid of the fraction, you can just multiply both sides by its reciprocal, which means you flip it. And I like to still keep the negative on the top. So we can multiply both sides by negative 5 over 8. That way these two negatives cancel, you get positive b. And then for the other part, in your calculator, you would go 5 times, then hit the negative 5 fraction button and the 8. So 5 times negative 5 over 8 and equals, so you get negative 25 over 8. If you want to change that to a mixed number on your calculator, hit the second button and then hit the button to the right of the fraction button and then enter. And you'd also know that b could also be negative 3 and 1/8. So to change improper to a mixed, you hit the second and then the button to the right of the fraction. All right, go ahead and turn the page. So we have a new problem, 3 over 8x equals negative 9. So we want to get rid of the fraction, so we multiply by its reciprocal, which would be 8 over 3. So we times both sides by 8 over 3. That way the fraction part cancels. I get my x equals. Then in the calculator, we would type in negative 9 times 8 fraction button 3. And we end up with negative 24. So x equals negative 24. Good job to those that got it before me. All right, let's look at the next problem. Now again, you always have to find the variable term. So the variable term is the x, the 2/3 x. So I want to get this x by itself to get rid of the 2/3 since it's touching. That's multiplication. So we undo it by doing multiplying by its reciprocal. So we're going to multiply both sides by 3 over 2. So with your calculator, you can go 3 over 2 times, make sure you're using the cursor button, negative 14. So if you have the times negative 14 on the bottom of a fraction, you didn't do it right. So you go 3 over 2 space to the right times negative 14. And that gives you negative 21. So x equals negative 21. All right. It says, are the equations 2/3 m equals negative 4 and negative 4 equals 24 equivalent? Are they equal to each other? We're going to work out two problems. We're going to go 2/3 m equals negative 4. And on the other side, we'll do negative 4m equals 24. So the first thing on this side, multiply by its reciprocal. So times that by 3 over 2. So I get m equals, so I go -4 times 3 over 2. And that gives me a -6. Over here, the numbers touch the letter, so we can divide by -4. M equals -6. So that would be a yes, they are equivalent. They both equal -6. All right, turn the page. It says describe the inverse operation that will undo the given operation. So the opposite. So what is the opposite of subtracting 12? That would be adding 12. So adding 12. So what is the inverse operation of multiplication? It would be dividing by -1/8. Could also be multiplying by its reciprocal, but we're good. And then number 14, adding -6. Opposite of adding would be subtracting -6. So those are the inverse operations that will undo the given operation. All right, we're going to write the word sentence as an equation, then solve the equation. So a number multiplied by 2/5 is 3 over 20. Now, since they don't tell me what letter to use, you can use whatever variable you want. I like to use x. So if we're going to multiply a number by 2/5, that would be like 2 over 5x is equal 3 over 20. So that's writing out the equation. Now to solve it, we multiply by the reciprocal. So the reciprocal would be 5 over 2. So I multiply this side by 5 over 2. I get x equals. So now my calculator, I would clear it out and go 3 over 20. Then you gotta use the cursor button. And then times 5 over 2. And enter. And you should get a fraction of 3 over 8. So x equals 3 over 8. Next one, you can see in Big Ideas. This is an example from the book. It talks about a temperature at midnight is shown at the left. The temperature decreases 4.5 degrees Fahrenheit each hour. When will the temperature be 32 degrees Fahrenheit? So you can see how they translate that into an equation and then how they solve it. So let's go ahead and work the last problem. So the elevation of the surface of a lake is 315 feet. During a drought, the water level of the lake changes -3.5 feet per week. Find how long it takes for the surface of the lake to reach an elevation of 299 feet. Justify your answer. So it's -3.1/5 feet per week. So we'll use letter W for week. And then the original elevation of the lake is 315 feet. and we want to get it to 299 feet. So we want to know how many weeks it's going to take for the lake to drop down to 299 feet. So the first thing I would do on this one is get the see how many feet the lake dropped. So this 315 and the 299. So if we take that and we go negative 315, we're going to get negative 3 1/5 W equals, now, negative 315 plus 299. So that means it's going to drop 16 feet. So we want to know how many weeks it's going to take. If it's losing 3 1/5 feet per week, what will that end up? Now, with your calculator, you could just divide both sides by 3 1/5, or you could change it to an improper fraction and then multiply by its reciprocal. But since we have a calculator, I'm just going to go ahead and divide that by 3 1/5. So a negative, and so I'm going to divide this side by negative 3 1/5. So in the calculator, you're going to go negative 16 divided by negative 3. Then you got to hit the green second button and the fraction button to get a mixed number. And we put 1/5. So we have negative 16 divided by negative 3 1/5. And that's going to end up being 5. So it takes 5 weeks for the elevation to go from 315 feet down to 299 feet. And don't worry about justifying your answer. So you can go ahead and get started on your homework. Homework number 404. It's homework 403. So get started on homework 403 and big ideas.